Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Ones of the Force, a Star Wars podcast. I am Dave, as always, and with me is my co-host George. No Phil this week. Unfortunately, work commitments have kept him away, but we're here to discuss all this week's Star Wars news, which until very recently there was none of. But this has actually gone from what should have been a short episode. It's probably going to be quite a lengthy one. We're here to talk some Star Wars. George, you ready to go through everything we've got to go through?
Yeah, this morning was kind of a big slap in the face to, okay, short episode, now it's going to get long. Shall I go for it?
Yeah, let's start with that. I guess, look, there's no burying the lead on this. We start with the biggest news that has come out this week, and it was literally this morning. So, yeah, we'll get straight into it.
For those that haven't been on the internet or on TV, or especially watching a Star Wars podcast and you don't know what's just happened, Phil Lord and Chris Miller, as of Monday, have left via creative differences the Han Solo film. And, okay, directors leave projects. They've left 4 months into filming, 3 weeks before initial filming wraps, a month before D23, where there was rumoured there was going to be footage and other stuff, and less than a year before the release date. During filming. Creative differences, the statements were... Before we get into the other allegations, do you want to just have your quick thought on it as well? Because it's going to be very lengthy.
It came out first. It was, I think, when the first news first broke, it was a statement from Chris Lowe and his brother. Was it? I can't remember. The other one. The statement came out saying, it's so cliche, but creative differences is what's driven us apart here. And that's why we're going off this project. Lucas then kind of came out with a different sort of statement that kind of sounded like a bit of a brush off to that. Say, look, these guys weren't going to want them to do. This isn't what we wanted for the film. So we've parted ways. It's a really, really strange one. And at the moment, I'm still not sure quite how I feel about it. More than anything, I was shocked about the news that had happened. As I say, 4 months in filming, when there's so much already in the can, which they've got to have been getting close to. They've probably got quite a bit edited if they do, and you'll see. And it seems a bizarre move for them to now go, yeah, we're not happy with the direction. We're now going to try and get someone else in, and someone else comes in. Does that surely for me restarts that project, because that director's going to want to maybe make. I don't know. I mean, there's obviously a script in place, which is probably one of the issues that we'll be discussing in a few minutes. So it's an odd move by Lucasfilm. It's not one I'm overly enamored with. I don't know what your overall thoughts on that were.
I'm a bit shocked. I think disappointed is another word, because I mean, for those that don't know, the previous films Phil Lord and Chris Miller have done, they did the Lego movie, which was absolutely incredible, and something that should have been abysmal, which was amazing. They did both Jump Street films, the reboots of them, which I really enjoyed. So a lot of the people, a great comedy with an actual decent comedy sequel, which very rarely happens these days. They ticked all the boxes, and then when they were announced for these films, I thought, oh, that's a bit ballsy by Lucasfilm, but I'm down with it. They've got the track record. At Celebration last year, you were in the room with me. They were clearly big Star Wars fans. I think Chris, I don't know which one's which, but one of them cameoed in the special editions. He showed the long story of how everything seemed like it was going right. The cast was amazing. Donald Glover, Woody Harrelson. I was even behind Han Solo to a degree. Phoebe Waller-Davis, I think her name is. She's done a lot of stand-up before, and we'll have to get to that later. And it seemed to be going smooth. There wasn't any outrageous set reports or anything like that. From what I've heard from other sources, it's been a blast, and they've loved working with them. I'm not going to go into more details than that. I shouldn't have said that, but this just... this just came out of nowhere. I woke up this morning and I just had all these messages of people, and I was like, whoa, this just happened? Like, are they joking? Like, literally, they're filming now, and I guess we're moving to the next phase of it. I just don't understand how you can sack directors before they finish filming, because, like you said, they have to hit the reset button. What happens now? Does someone come on board and you think, oh, I like the first 4 months, but I'm going to change it to this now? And are you going to have to reshoot? Is he going to have to go through dailies? And Rogue One was a success, and this is the only saving grace of all this. I mean, I will keep going into more because there's so much to say. We've got like bullet points for it. Rogue One had a lot of issues. That was well known to the public, the reshoots, this, that, the other. And Rogue One came out beautifully. And I'm hoping this does. However, Rogue One kept on Gareth Edwards. He submitted a first cut of said film. Disney didn't like the tone. That's where reshoots came into place. It was the tone. It wasn't anything else. And as a PR standpoint, he was basically sacked. However, he'd come out. He marketed the film. He did his interviews. He did everything like that, and he still talked it. Seemed a good person in the press. Whereas they're outright sacked midway through filming. These guys aren't going to be at the premiere doing interviews. These guys aren't even going to get to see a rough cut of their film because they're gone. These guys have probably spent like a year and a half on this film, I guess, already, and to see it like not fall to pieces, but that's a year and a half. They can't get back. It reminds me of Edgar Wright and Ant-Man. However, he left like a month before filming. That did come out okay, but if we just go into it, it's clearly them being sacked. The creative differences, the Lucasfilm statement is pretty. Well, Kathleen Kennedy's paragraph is the nicest possible way of telling someone that they've been sacked but not sacked. It was a ruthless statement. She, after all, in all honesty to her, she's been one of the best producers in Hollywood over the last 30 years. Just look at her previous project and look at what she's done with Star Wars so far. She's someone that gets results, and you don't get to be the CEO of Lucasfilm without making a few enemies, I guess is one way of saying things. And maybe she's done what she thinks is right. After all, we're reading reports. However, there's something I really don't like about this whole situation, especially the various other companies putting their word in. I think there's a lot more meets the eye.
I think you're absolutely right. I think there's a lot more that we're going to find out probably as this story rolls on. I think once these first initial statements have obviously aired, I think snippets will come out from certainly inside. You'll get insiders, in inverted commas, who will come out with what their side of the story is and what they think. It's obviously the actors have very much been gagged. There's been no word from any of the actors on the film. There's been nobody open for comment. This is just there. This is what's happened. We're moving on. Filming's still going. None of the actors are leaving or anything like that. In fact, there's been nothing really mentioned of the actors apart from Kathleen Kennedy. And a statement says they pulled together a world-class crew and set of actors for the movie, which is, it's picking up these actors that he's got in. And I just don't know if they've seen what they're doing with this film. And again, 4 months down the line is a long time for them to have not seen any dailies or to be seeing what's coming out of this film to then go, nah, the tone's not what we want. And I just want to go on quickly. There's a guy on our Facebook page called Jonathan Mock who commented that after the dark tone of Rogue One, really a more irreverent tone of a Han Solo movie is probably what was needed. Just something to break up that. And I think that's a really good point. I think you get those two guys in. They've just come off the Batman Lego movie, not the Batman, the Lego movie itself, which was, as I say, was brilliant. That when that got announced, that was a film that you thought, you know what, that's going to be absolutely terrible. Why on earth? What could you do with Lego for a movie? And they absolutely knocked it out of the park. It's irreverent, it's funny. One of my favorite films when it came out. And I don't know. Lucasfilm have obviously seen something. Kathleen Kennedy has seen something. The story group have maybe seen something that they're not happy with and how this story's going. If they were shooting for something different, if they wanted to go down a certain way, because at the end of the day, I guess it is the Lucasfilm. But then the brothers, they could walk away, the directors at the end of this film, no matter what they'd shot and put out there, and maybe that Lucasfilm have seen that's not what they're happy with the product that's going to come out, and they want something different to hit the streets first, and something they can put their name on. They're quite happy with. You know what I mean? Awful to think that this could have come down to months away from release and then going, you know what, that's not the film we want. It could have been worse, I think, had they not done it when they did. But yeah, it still seems like a bit of a dick move, to be honest, to get rid of these guys. And as you're right, we saw them at Celebration and they seemed so into it. They were so happy when Alden Ehrenreich came out and they talked to him. So yeah, it's I don't know really. I don't know how to put it's a weird story to put a spin on when there's not that much information to come out. And I'm guessing probably by the time we come to air our next episode in 2 weeks' time, I'm guessing there's probably going to be a lot more information that's snuck out from set from people who are really involved, and we'll get a much bigger backstory into what's gone on to cause this rift. Because something's happened. Something must have.
I guess this is the right time to lead into the next aspect, is that the rumors, and I would say rumors, but I'm just going to be the one that says it. Sorry if I get banned from Next Film for the Eternity. Is Lawrence Kasdan is the key to all of this, and so is a producer. What's been said is basically from day one, the producer didn't get on with them too much. The Lucasfilm producer, not the one keeping the eye on them. They weren't keen on them. Lawrence Kasdan apparently is a screenwriter, and everything he writes on the page has to make it to the screen. For those that have ever seen any of his previous films, such as Raiders of the Lost Ark or The Empire Strikes Back, it was so accurate to the script that Harrison Ford didn't, I've forgotten the word I was going to say, didn't improvise the word I know, the most famous improvisation in cinema. No. Lawrence Kasdan, he's a man that has all of his words on the script come to life. Indiana Jones and Raiders of the Lost Ark.
The shooting.
That wasn't improv. No. Lawrence Kasdan will tell you that was in the script now. Because apparently every single thing written in Lawrence Kasdan has to make it to the screen, because some young, talented comedy writers and directors aren't allowed to have that in Star Wars. The character of Han Solo, the rogue, selfish bastard who can be funny at times, he's going to stick to the script. That's the rumors. And obviously Lawrence Kasdan, he's got a very good history of Kathleen Kennedy. Obviously he works on Force Awakens as well. He obviously worked, like I said, Raiders, the previous Stars films. I think he might have worked on a couple of Spielberg films with her that weren't just Raiders of the Lost Ark. And she basically, I'm assuming she just picked his side, because him and his son did do the screenplay to this. If this is true, then I've probably lost all respect in the world for Lawrence Kasdan. I'm one that I will say I did like The Force Awakens, even if it was essentially a remake of 4. I loved it still. But Lawrence Kasdan's got his reputation, the hype, which he's obtained over a very good career. But if this is true, to do this to some directors, form into filming, because they're probably making changes for the better of your film. Like I said, their track record is wonderful. Then I really don't like that. I don't know if you've got any thoughts on the Kasdan situation.
It's a strange one. I think I'm with you in that. If that has been what he's decided, that it has gone, that he's said something, or that's been ultimately his going into Kathleen Kennedy's ear to say, look, I'm not happy with the direction this film's taking. This is why we wrote it. This is what we wanted from it. This is what they're now changing, or this is what they've done. That would be. I mean, yes, he's got a big history with his legacy with Kathleen Kennedy, years and years of friendship as well behind that. So you've got to think that maybe that is he's in her ear, and she's decided, right, if he's not happy, then we'll go another direction, get someone else on board. But yeah, it's you're right. It could be to the detriment of the film. This film is Rogue One. When it came out, we had no idea if it was going to be. It was the first standalone film. We had no idea how well it was going to do or how it was going to play when it was all set. But it came out and it was wonderful. It ticked every box we wanted. And this is probably the first one of the, well, it's only the second standalone film, but the first one I was a bit like, oh, okay, a Han Solo film without Harrison Ford, and then you see the cast coming in, and that's really good. Oh, their directors, I really like their stuff. That'll be really good. Now to have a shake-up like this, it's a strange. I'm still a little confused by it all. I need to know. I really want to know more insight. I need to know more information, and I'm certainly going to hunt that out as news breaks. But yeah, if it is something to do with that, I know Kasdan said this is going to be his very last film that he was doing, especially involved with Star Wars. He wasn't going to do any more after this. This is his baby. And I think maybe that if that's the case, it's his time maybe to walk away as well.
Yeah, and if any drama is, okay, maybe the Phil admitted something bad, okay, that happens, but there's that level of professionalism where as a writer, at the end of the day, you are the writer. Directors take scripts and change a lot of things. I just don't know the whole concept of the writer coming in. And yes, he's got the reputation and it's like that, but now they're in a situation where there's less than a year until arguably, well, it's not the biggest film of next year. I would say that probably does go to Infinity War. This is probably in the top 5, 10 non-biased way, it will be in my top 2. But yeah, it's a sour taste, and I guess the final thing to say is that at the minute there are 3 favourites to take over the role of director. Number 1's Lawrence Kasdan himself, which is actually really funny. It's like a wrestling storyline. I believe that there is some clause in some law, which I hope the Miller and Lord pursue, where a writer or actor cannot direct a film once filming has begun. During production, they will not be able to take directing if anything happens. An amazing law, and I hope that that gets triggered and they do something if that does happen. The 2 names, Joe Johnston, who I believe did Captain America: The First Avenger, storyboard artist for Lucasfilm over the years, big part, a lot of background to the Star Wars films. Wouldn't be a bad chance. However, people haven't realised that he is pretty heavy on pre-production in the reboot of the Narnia films, which leaves us to Ron Howard, who I love. Rush is one of my favourite films of all time. He obviously was in American Graffiti with George Lucas. He was offered Attack of the Clones to direct and turned it down. He's a guy that he can make a solid film. His last 2 haven't been brilliant. Inferno, however, you look at Angels and Demons and Da Vinci Code, they were great. The Inferno wasn't. In the Heart of the Sea was just a horrible green filter over the top, but Rush was outstanding. Apollo 13, this is a guy that take over the last minute. I guess the only other ginger director has took over Justice League at the last minute, so let's get the other one to take over Star Wars and save the day. It's just sad that we're in a situation where they're going to bring a director on board within like 2 weeks to take over a film midway through production. Good luck to whoever takes that role on, and I'm intrigued to see if they let you have it, because apparently they're saying they're going to stick to this May release date still. Now more than ever might be a best time for them to divert back to December.
That was one of my first thoughts, actually, that if they're going to bring a new director in who's going to want to probably look at what's already shot, look at the script that he's got, and then he'll base his own opinion on that. I think the May date it's definitely in jeopardy. I would be very, very surprised if, although they're now going, yeah, we're sticking to it, it'll definitely come out then. I could really see that getting a bit closer. You know what? This new director had a vision. We like that vision. We're going to push this back to December as well and continue on as we've done with the last few years and the last few films. And to be honest, that would make me overly happy because I love the Christmas Star Wars release. If it means waiting an extra 6 months for a Star Wars film, so be it. I think now what's important is they get the right person in for the job and they are given full scope of that film. If that means they get what's being shot and throw it to one side and he goes, this is my vision for it, I'll work from your script, but I want to do this. Because we know they've already been, and I was talking to George before we went on air, they've already shot abroad. They've had sets done abroad that they've shot out and left. So those sets are gone. So if the director's not happy with what he's got from that, or it doesn't work for them, the exposition of that, they're no good. There's a lot of money that's now in jeopardy for this film. It's going to push the budget up quite significantly, I would have thought. The directors who've been mentioned, out of all those, of course, my favourite would be Ron Howard, but I would love. They've got someone inside Lucasfilm who knows Star Wars intrinsically well, and I would love them just to say, you know what, give Dave Filoni a chance. He's done wonders for the animated decision. He knows Star Wars inside out, worked so closely with George Lucas. I know also, I don't know if you've seen Fanboys, George, by Cal Newman. Yeah. Right, he has also thrown his hat into the ring, saying he would love to make a Star Wars movie. He worked for free, and he's done also the Smuggler's Bounty, the radio dramas they do at Celebration, which are really, really good. If you get a chance to go back and listen to those or watch those on YouTube, I know he's thrown his hat into the ring. But personally, I would love to see Filoni given a chance. I think it might just be where they want, and he's a proper Lucasfilm insider. He's one of theirs. So that certainly would be one of my choices and where I'd like them to go. But I don't know what your thought is. Is there anybody else out there you'd prefer to see, George?
Filoni is someone I want to direct a Star Wars film. However, Filoni is someone that needs a Star Wars film. He gets the script from pre-production. He does what he wants. I think it would be the wrong decision to give it him with like less than a year to go, especially with the final season of Rebels on the horizon. I'm praying that Filoni gets that chance once Rebels is done. I know he's head of animation, but I think he could really write a really good Star Wars film, and that's just the writing. If he wants to give directing a crack, give him a go, because he's proved it animated. I didn't really think of any of the directors really. Once they said Ron Howard, I was kind of stuck with him because I do like him, and I'm thinking last minute who's good enough that's available at the last minute, and all the names I think of are people I want to write a Star Wars from scratch. So I really do struggle with that.
Yeah.
But they're in a bad situation. But again, they should have at least let them. This is my personal and like final thought on this. I guess they should have let them finish filming and get that first cut in. Then they can watch over that film properly. Because for all we know, the scene in the middle or the climax might have been the last day of shooting, and it's all mumbo jumbo until that first cuts together. And you know, they too impatient. That's what I feel. And at the end of the day, this might have been the right call, but even if it's the right call, they've done it at the wrong time, regardless.
Yeah, I'm with you on that as a fan. I think it's definitely been done at the wrong time in production. You're right. Closer to the time, I mean, the proof will be in the pudding. Absolutely, we'll see this film, and you'll be able to tell from what you see as to whose script you're watching and whose. If they go with footage they've already got, you'll know quite blatantly, I thought, whose footage you're watching at which time, because of the way the actors are and things like that. So I think it is going to be telling that a new director comes in, and I think if a new director does come in, we'll get a lot. They'll say reshoots, but I think we'll get a lot more than reshoots. I think you could get a start of again, at least a majority of that film being reshot, just so the director gets what he wants and not what he's been given. But yeah, so bad timing. It's all over the news, and I mean, you know, Star Wars in the news is always a good thing, but I don't know if this is for the right reason. And I do feel sorry for the two lads who were looking forward to putting out their Star Wars movie. A bit of a punch in the gut for them. But yeah, so bad timing, good news, bad news, we don't know. We'll find out when the movie releases, and I'm sure we'll have a lot to say when we see the movie and what we think of that. You'll definitely hear what our thoughts were more when that comes around as the news comes out. But yeah, that's the biggest news, I guess, that came out. And just as before this news came out, we had so little to talk about. This is a good thing for us.
I'll say one more thing, because I did tweet this. Since Disney took over Star Wars, they have in total hired 7 directors to work on Star Wars films: J.J. Abrams, Rian Johnson, Gareth Edwards, Phil Miller, Chris Lord, Josh Trank, and I've forgotten, and Colin Trevorrow. 7 directors that have been hired by Lucasfilm. J.J. Abrams, first in, first out. He did a very good job, says producer, fair play. Rian Johnson's God's gift. They know what they've got. Number 3, Gareth Edwards basically sacked. Josh Trank, well, he deserved to get sacked after everything that happened with that film. Fair play. That's another one gone. That's 2. Phil Lord, Chris Miller, you hit your four sackings out of 7. And you got Colin Trevorrow, who a lot of people are calling to be sacked by fans because Jurassic World wasn't very good, and just out of it, his new film is meant to be absolutely abysmal, Book of Henry. It's not looking good for Trevorrow, especially with his rep. Could be 5 out of 7 if they're not careful. But no, that's just something for people to think on. I mean, Disney being ruthless, but being ruthless gets you results. And time will tell with their other sackings if they've paid off. But no, that's something I just wanted to say because I literally just remembered it earlier, the tweet. Moving on to some happy news, I guess we could say.
Yes, come on.
A new trailer has been classified for Last Jedi, and trailer's the key word in this. For those that don't know what the BBFC is, especially more American people, they have PG-13 rated R, that age category. I don't know who gives them their ratings, but over here in the United Kingdom, we get the BBFC. They say PG-12, 12A, 15, 18U. BBFC, every cinema you go to, BBFC logo starts before the film with why is this rated that, blah, blah, blah. They classify trailers, and it popped up yesterday, The Last Jedi Trailer B, length 1 minute 31 seconds, and that was done yesterday, which means there's a new trailer coming out. What I will say, before I let you talk, I think this is going to be a behind-the-scenes video at Comic-Con. If it's a trailer, then I'll cry, but yeah.
Well, I know that we've got, obviously, Comic-Con is coming up, but we also have D23 as well. So when I saw new trailer announced, I think you might be right that they might show, like we got with Rogue One, like we got with Force Awakens, we've got that behind-the-scenes reel on both those films before we got an actual trailer. And I do think you could be spot on with that guess that there could be just one of those behind the scenes showing you some of the footage getting done, some of the actors talking. and I think that could be something that we will get. I think if they're going to put something out, I think you might get quite a bit of like Carrie talking, like a little like headshot of that, little talking heads piece from her. But yeah, it's a minute and what was it? Sorry, a minute.
1 minute 31, I think.
31. So for them to say a B trailer, I can't see it. The next trailer I would expect to hit the 2 minute mark to give us a much broader look at the film without giving too much away. But yeah, so I think you could be right, but I do think is D23 before Comic-Con or after? I'm not sure.
I don't actually know. I know that D23 is the 14th to 15th or 16th of July. Comic-Con is either the week after or the week before, so it's going to be exclusives everywhere.
They'll both probably get that, whether one's first or they'll both show it. But yeah, I mean, it's great news that we're going to get some more footage. There's been a lot of stuff slowly leaking out about The Last Jedi. Obviously, as we're getting, we're now in June, so we're in almost the back end of getting towards 6 months to the film. So yes, stuff's leaking out on packaging, on posters, on sweet wrappers, on stuff we'll talk about later. So yeah, we're getting more and more of an insight into what we're going to see. So yeah, it's great. It's exciting news. We're going to have a trailer to talk about, which is good because I'm sure as soon as it drops, we'll be on here talking about it and literally breaking it down into what our thoughts are. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to that coming out, no matter when it's out. Comic-Con's probably the best time for it. They could do with the boost. I think after the last story we talked about, they need something really positive in the news about Star Wars. They need people to take their focus off that and back onto the film that's coming. So I think that's a good time for the trailer to come out.
Yeah, definitely. The timing's right. I mean, Star Wars Celebration last year was July behind the scenes. The year before, Force Awakens Comic-Con behind the scenes trailer. So they're following tradition. We always had a trailer in April, teaser July, and another trailer at September, October. However, obviously, we were in the Rogue One panel last year. We did get a trailer that was never released online. It still hasn't been released online. So whether or not something happens like that with Last Jedi, then we will find out. But obviously, whatever happens with The Last Jedi, we're going to be reporting on it. I guess, should we move on to the next bit?
Yeah, I think this week the autopsy report came out behind the death of Carrie Fisher. To be honest, we're going to pretty much brush past this. It's been the news, what's out there. I mean, it came out, and if an autopsy slow your vote and you want to know all these details, the main is it was sleep apnea, and there were other factors that were included in her death. And you know what, the news is out there. If you want to go see that then and read all about it and more into that, doesn't interest me in the slightest. Everyone knows Carrie had her demons, and she was very open and frank, and she talked about everything that she was going through. Nothing in her life was a secret. And I just think it came out, and the way it was reported in some news sections, some websites and newspapers, it just left a bit of a bad taste, and that's not how I will remember Carrie Fisher at all. And we'll give it no more time. I know, George, if you've got anything to add to that, I'll move on.
It was just a very quick one. That what I don't like is on Sunday, the official autopsy report came out. This was the BBC. When I wrote this in our schedule, it was the BBC headline. The more, not I wouldn't say class, but the what headline should be. And the next day, I think some twat, I don't care if I'm swearing, some twat leaked some details to the press, and they've had a field day, so they can forget all of that. That's what I want to say. I won't say any more than that. But go actually look at real news. Moving on from that, before I get too vexed, we have the weirdest bit of news. This shows how little news we have. There is a screen-built R2-D2 on auction for $1 to $2 million. I saw this online in the builders group, and it wasn't made by a builder. I don't know how on earth this thing's been made, but some person has managed to get parts from multiple R2s used on, I guess, the first 5 Star Wars films until he was fully CG in Episode 3. And they've built, it's just called a screen-built R2-D2. It's not one that's been from a film. You might have a leg from 4, a radar ride from 5. Definitely not flames from Episode 2 because, you know, it wasn't real. But yeah, if you've got a spare $1 to $2 million, you can basically have the Frankenstein of R2-D2s. That I would be, I don't really like it. That sounds really weird, but it's basically a Frankenstein, isn't it?
It is. I mean, and don't get me wrong. If this is something that should, when I first saw that it came out, screen built out of D2, the little boy inside of me did a giddy dance because he thought that's amazing, and I'd love to own that. And then you read more about it, like, oh, it's not what they're saying it is. And for 1 to 2 million, I guess that oh, that leg was in A New Hope. That part of the dome you could see in this frame, like no. I'd rather build one myself and actually enjoy that, and for way less than $1 to $2 million. It seems a weird thing. To be honest, I don't think it'll reach the price they're expecting. I don't see any reason why anyone would want parts from different movies put together. We know how many R2s were built. They know in most shots it's a different R2, and you can generally see when the R2s change very slightly on them. I don't think that's gonna. I don't think it'll reach the million that what they're expecting for it. I don't think like ourselves, we're both massively into it, and if we had big wallets that didn't have to be curtailed, I'm sure we'd love to go out and spend $1 million on Star Wars things, but that wouldn't interest me at all.
No. Build your own for a couple of, well, not even a couple of grand, a couple of £100 and upgrade
it.
If I had $2 million to spend on Star Wars merchandise, or at least a prop, like an R2 would be top of the list, but not the Frankenstein of R2s. It'd be like saying, here's Luke's costume from 5, it's going to come with his lightsaber from episode 4, and you're going to get his shoes from The Last Jedi. Sorry, his glove. And it's just a bit like, okay. It's just very odd. I didn't know what to make of it when I saw it. It was so cool until you read into it. It's exactly what you said.
It's exactly like, oh, that's great. That's not great. That's really cool. Oh, that's rubbish. Again, but we were really scrapping for news for you guys. We were looking so hard for anything to include to kind of build this episode out until all the news broke this last night. So so that got included. But it's kind of a nothing story, and I don't think they'll get the money for that. That just seems a crazy thing that some fans thought, I'm going to make my riches off this, and I just don't think they are.
Yeah, it's a weird one. Speaking of other weird things, we've had a leak for episode 8, and the headline is a leaked energy drink has revealed some episode 8 characters. I've seen this leaked on Facebook before. This isn't a major leak at all. I'm not gonna go into detail too much because people want to be spoiler free, but there's a stormtrooper with a red stripe on his head. There's half of your leak, and the other half is maybe the more detailed part. So if people are really phasing out, I don't see the point, because this looks like the merchandise character for this film. There's like some kind of red thing that looks like he's made out of blood, and all the rumor is, I haven't looked into details, I don't want to look into details, but there's rumors of him being like Snoke's version of the Imperial Royal Guard. Don't know its name. It looks cool, but again,
oh, now George, I don't know if I still got you. I've actually lost you completely, my friend. You've frozen up. If you're still talking, stop, because I'm going to talk for a bit. But yeah, you've completely frozen up. Oh, hang on, you might be back.
It's back now. It's back now.
You're back. Yes, excellent. I lost you for a little while, but we're okay. We're okay. You're back and live with us.
Brilliant. I was talking to myself.
Yes, about characters. That's okay. So we lost you for a few minutes there, a few seconds. But yeah, these are the things that are going to leak. We got the rear image on the boxes for the toys that were coming out, and they're going to have episode 8 on every episode, everything they can put it on to. You're going to see characters. And I'd heard the same thing about it was the new Imperial Guard, the new version of that. And then again, you're right, a Stormtrooper with a red line on its helmet. We've seen Stormtrooper with lines on the helmets all the way back from the Clone Wars cartoon, where they were putting stripes and paint and all sorts on them to differentiate themselves. Just another. It's basically a Stormtrooper. We've seen the Stormtrooper before, so that's not really spoiler territory. This Red Guard, until we actually know more about it, I guess I don't take that picture to be spoiler territory either. It's the Royal Guard until we hear otherwise.
Yeah, and that's that. That was a brilliant news week. We've got 2 more minor bits. Colin Trevorrow, speaking of directors who should get sacked, I know he's talking about his young audience for episode 9. Is this dangerous? I'm not going to read his whole paragraph, but he was talking about how he wants young fans to be watching these films. Don't know where he's been living in the past few years. It's been full of young fans. This franchise is built around young fans. and he was basically saying, I have to know what children feel about these stories and how I'm telling it to them. I don't like it at all. I don't really care for these quotes. He just made not a kids film, a film with a kid character that's completely bombed, that people have despised, and he's put a spin. Obviously, he's going to get asked about Star Wars, but by saying that he's not going to, he's going to make this a kid-friendly film. Star Wars is already kid-friendly. You don't need to tell us that. However, by specifically going out and saying you're making it kid-friendly, that brings bad vibes, not to myself, but to some people of the prequels, who'd have better off being quiet in that. But again, minor news, because it's been that kind of week. It
has, and I mean, I'm with you on this. And everyone knows it's said in every release that Star Wars was made for children. They're children's films. It's nothing. That's nothing new. That children, no matter what happens, will get taken to see these films. Midnight showing of every Star Wars film I've been to since the Disney era, there are fathers and families taking their young kids to the midnight screenings. There's always, we know these are for children. We absolutely know that. We've just grown up with them, and we're just all the adults now who are going back and taking, in my case, I'll take my son eventually to see Star Wars, and that's going to be great. And it just doesn't need, you don't need to get it over and over again. That these are children's films. You enjoy them, you should enjoy them, but those films are for children. Don't think about them as adult films. And you know what? Sometimes the tone of this film is not really for children. And I mean, we're going to be in episode 9. We're going to be in the building down of this new trilogy, and who knows where that story is going to lead. And I don't know if we got about Trevor and his shooting a scene.
Oh, sorry, I didn't add it in. Yes, but
we'll go with it now because we're talking about him. Yeah.
Yes, this is important. Actually, very similar to how Ryan Johnston asked JJ to edit the scenes, reshoot it with BB-8 being at the base and R2 on Skellig, Luke's planet. He's come out and he's controversial. Said, I asked Ryan Johnston to add in this scene for me. We don't know any details of that. We won't know any details of that, obviously, until December comes out. But I like that the directors are working again with one another to continue this Star Wars story. That, okay, yes, it's their own film, but there's nothing wrong with the next guy having his say for one brief moment if it's going to help that next film out or the story at hand.
I agree. I mean, yes, it's. I like the change that Ryan Johnson made, that he wanted R2 to be there on the island to reunite with Luke. Makes absolute all the sense in the world. Whereas BB-8 made not real sense to me. He was never Rey's droid. He was helped by Rey. He was his pause droid, so he should be with him. R2 was definitely someone who should always be around Luke when the opportunity is there. So yeah, it's nice that they are looking to get this all shot. They said it was a specific location that they shot at to keep it that he wanted the scene from. So I don't know what that is, whether that's going to be maybe on Skellig. He'd asked for a shot that he wasn't going to be able to go back, and they want to go back just for one scene. Who knows? But yeah, it'll be interesting to see when episode 9 gets to us in 2 years.
It's going to be interesting. I'm obviously excited, as everyone is, but at least the directors are talking with each other, and Trevorrow hasn't been sacked just yet. Maybe during the first week, the wrath of Disney will stay within. So Wrath of Khan, but it's Wrath of Colin.
Colin!
Or we could have Kathleen instead of Wrath of Kathleen. There we go. Wrath of Kathy. The last bit of news. This is so minor that it doesn't actually have a source. Joel Edgerton says he's keen to return as Uncle Owen. For those that don't know, Joel Edgerton played, my intent has come back. Joel Edgerton played Uncle Owen in episodes 2 and cameoed in 3. He's an actual decent actor that's now directing things, and I'm guessing someone just asked him about Star Wars, and he did the usual. I would like to come back one day, but obviously his character is now a charred corpse.
It really is, and it's hard to how you could. And the films that have now come out, you're going to get actors who are saying, yeah, I'd love to reprise my, get back into these really good money-making films and get my face out there, because Joel Edgerton did a lot of work off the back of Uncle Owen, but certainly off the back of Star Wars, he did get some work on there, so you can see why actors want to do that.
Yeah, it's a nice little story. He's a cool guy. But yeah, the minor news. That's the news section done. moving on, Star Wars. There is, for the second episode in a row, we have nothing on Star Wars. Again, big news day. Let's move on. Toy shelf. And we actually have something that is actually going to get a conversation because of something you spotted. You want to go into it?
Yeah, well, earlier in the was it yesterday? You posted up a link. It was yesterday or the day before. You posted up a link to the Snoke Lego figure. Now, while this has been on packaging for a while, this is really the first time we've got to see it really close up picture. And this Snoke has great big blue shiny eyes. And the only other time I've ever seen great big shiny eyes on a figure is on the Chirrut Imwe figure, and that would lead me to think just a blind character. So I can't see any other reason why. It's just a bizarre one. You see these eyes on the figures. Why would they have made them like that? Unless he has specifically, maybe he's got really bright, lovely, shiny eyes, and he want to show them off. But yeah, it pointed me straight to away when George Hubbard was like, "Oh well, he's blind," and that could then lead to conversation of, well, who is this blind character, Jedi, Force sensitive person?
Chirrut, anyway.
Chirrut, or another one who's in Rebels right now, who's also blind and could have a grudge after the end of Rebels Series 4. And Kanan Jarrus is another name that I know is being shouted about as a blind character who's Force sensitive, who could show up, and who knows why he's as disfigured as he is. Maybe we'll find that out at the end of Rebels Series 4, and that made the inner child me giggle, because that's that kind of continuity that would be awesome for people who watch Rebels, and then a new story for people who are just watching the films as they come through. But yeah, so it's again not massive news, but again when we saw it, it led us to go, oh, that's quite interesting that they should put this out. And such a close-up with these eyes are so telling. Or are they? They could be a complete throwaway thing that is just there to we'll put these blue eyes on and watch these fanboys freak out.
Yeah, it's going to be funny because I didn't see the blue eyes, and that was the big thing. I literally just saw the little image of the minifigure first and did you guys, and you're like, no, he's got the blue eyes. I was like, oh, now I've seen it. Okay, that's going to change things. So I guess the first official Snoke merchandise is at Comic-Con next month, that Pop Funko, but it's blue hologram Snoke. So when we hit Force Friday, whether or not something's been said by then, we will know for sure what's occurring with Supreme Leader Snoke. Maybe he'll be in the next trailer. I don't know. I doubt it, but I still think it's weird they've released a Snoke minifigure anyway, especially before The Last Jedi has come out, how little he was in Episode 7, but that's just Disney cashing in as usual.
Absolutely. But it is. I think he is going to play, just from his last line that he got in Force Awakens, that he wanted Kylo Ren brought to him to complete his training. I think he's going to be playing a much bigger role in the next film, and it'll be nice to actually see his character revealed not as a Lego figure, but as like an action figure or a Black Series figure, so we get a lot more detail on him. Whether we'll get that before the film comes out, I'm not sure. We might get images, or at least a teaser image of that. But yeah, it's all good. Toys coming out is always a good thing.
Yeah, it's going to kill our wallets. And now, as many can see if you look behind me, if you're on MP4, I've given in after slagging off Pop Funkos for many months. I have bought 4. They're all exclusive though, which is the only good thing about them. But I know that the 4 will become like 40 and 40 will become like 200. So hooray, more money disappearing on Force Friday. Now, speaking of more merchandise, which I won't be buying, and I don't think anyone will, in all honesty, Sideshow have announced a legendary Darth Vader figure. He's just under 4 foot high. Again, it's a small news week. Darth Vader's a character that's been done to death so many times in terms of merchandise story, whatnot. I don't get fazed by his merchandise coming out unless it's something special, like that 40th anniversary Black Series figure, something a bit different. But an almost 4 foot high Darth Vader, like, well, why don't you just add the extra 2 foot on and charge more, and then he's life size? But they've probably already done that life size. So you know what hasn't been done? A 4 foot Darth Vader. And then you've got, and that's gonna, for those that actually want to buy one, I don't know why. June 29th, you can actually pre-order it, and it'll probably come out like 2 years after knowing Sideshow.
Yeah, I mean, those scale figures are, don't get us wrong, some of them look absolutely stunning pieces. But if you're going to spend the sort of money they're looking for these figures, look for the full size, full scale, 1-to-1 things they brought out. Some of those are exceptional. I mean, there's a 4th Darth Vader that got brought out by Jack Specific last year, I think, or the year before. He's just a basic Darth Vader, but that's still pretty cool. So I just think, yeah, they need to move on, I think, from such a seminal characters. We're moving in now to a new era, and yes, don't get us wrong, a lot of the people who can afford these bigger scale figures are the guys who grew up with Star Wars. So I kind of get that from that marketing point. They're not going to go out and go, you can get a 4-foot high Rey figure, because guys are going to go, it's not my Star Wars. So I kind of get where they're coming from, but yeah, I'd like to see some more thought put into the new trilogy that we're in now. Or even Rogue One, it's that's an era they could play with in there as well. Let's get a Death Trooper 4-foot high, just for George.
It's just like a collection of like the Pop Funko, the Black Series, the Lego, the first sideshow, the 4-foot sideshow, and then he completes the day with that. Is it Anavos?
Yes,
Death Trooper armor.
Yeah.
And then I wear it for my living. I just need to get a lot thinner for that. But yeah, other sideshow news. They've unveiled a Luke Skywalker Bespin figure, and they're now taking on pre-orders. And this is a bit more detail. It's $560, which is mental, and it's going to start shipping between April and July 2018. I looked at this online, and don't get me wrong, as usual, the figure looks stunning. However, who on earth would want a Luke Skywalker Bespin figure that doesn't come with one hand? Considering these are merchandise that always have alternate stances, different character faces, arms, there is no missing hand for Luke, and I just don't agree with that. It's the Bespin figure.
Sideshow, they have some. I mean, I've got the R2D2 1/6 scale, and to be honest, for as lovely as it looks, while it's set there, it feels fairly cheap and plastic when you've got it in your hand. But it's they ask for a lot of money, and as good as they look, the Hot Toys things as well. I'm in certainly no position to run out £200, £300, £400, £500 on a figure without getting divorced. Not because I want to, because I wouldn't have a choice. So yeah, they bring these things out. And again, that's another one for me. That let's move on from that era. Let's see some new things. I love looking at them. I love going to places like Forbidden Planet where they have all these things behind glass, and I can press my face up against it really close and go, oh, I can pretend I own one right now, because they do look exceptional. And but yeah, some things that I just won't be able to afford unless we get like 6 million subscribers tomorrow. By the way, if you are watching this or listening later, just there's a subscribe button. You should definitely press it. So yeah, it's again in a no news week. That is our news. In a toy shelf.
Next up's games. This is where we need Phil, because there's two bits of news, but 90% of it's Battlefront 2. We even decided to have our title after it because it did exceed all expectations.
Yes, it did.
However, me and you have done an hour and 15-minute special on said Battlefront 2, and there is nothing new we can say. What we can say is that we were hoping Phil was here to talk about Battlefront 2 because he was gutted he missed the Battlefront 2 video last week. So don't worry, we'll have you on the next episode to talk about it, and due to work commitments, we are unable to have Phil on today. So all I can say is
Phil is devastated about not being here as well.
I know, that's the other thing, is that I'll even drive round to your house and come later. I was like, sorry mate, I just can't, not today. I literally got in from work like 15 minutes before we started, but I'll breeze through it. I said, go watch our video. It's actually very detailed. It's about an hour talking about the Battlefront 2, the new trailer, the gameplay, our thoughts on it. It's not just us pitching ourselves. We can't get that detailed because we're going to run out of time, even though there's been not enough news.
We're literally repeating ourselves. The video is out there. It does everything that you want it to.
There's no new opinion we can have. That's why we need to Phil. But what I will say is that EA have confirmed that DLC will be free. This will begin with the planet Cray from episode 8, which is in the trailer. This will include Captain Phasma and Finn, and each DLC will be free from there on. We had gameplay video Assault on Theed, summed up, looks beautiful. We had a brand new trailer which focused on multiplayer with some story modes. The main thing being that hologram of the Emperor, which has currently been done before, but it won't be to this level of detail. But yes, that's the main things that have come out. Again, we can't just repeat ourselves.
It is a thing of beauty. If you get a chance to sit down and watch some of the gameplay, anything that's come out about this game looks absolutely phenomenal. As someone who's not a massive gamer, it ticked every box I needed it to. I can't wait for this game to come out. I can't wait to sit down and play it and really get into it and have a look. To be honest, I'll probably spend half the time in the first play just having a look around. Some of the scenery, Theed looked incredible. The level of detail that they've got into this, we're getting so close. I've said this in our other video. It's so close to photorealism. It's going to come very shortly. I don't think they were far away from it at all. But yeah, please go and watch our other video if you want a full in depth. It's had quite a lot of views for us. It's just really good. So we've had a lot of people see it. George and I go into full in depth on pretty much everything that we saw. So really go and have a look at that. I'm sure when we get Phil back, I'm sure he'll be back for the next episode. We'll ask him his opinion on it because it'd be nice to hear his view as well. Come back, Phil. Come back. So there's not a lot we can say in it. We have said everything about Battlefront 2 that George and I could possibly think of saying. Looks awesome. Buy it, download it, get it. It's going to be free of downloads.
Yeah,
DLC content, apparently.
EA have never done that before, so time will tell. The other thing, for those that play Force Arena, I still love this game. Very underrated. Great iPad/iPhone game, although I don't have an iPhone. My phone's broken. Hooray. They did a massive update this week. There used to be 7 ranks, and now they've changed it to 12. So you spread out. There's a bit more to do for those completionists. They've added some new characters in, the Sentry Droid from Rebels alongside Phoenix Squadron. They've just reshaped a couple of the menus as usual. Just a big update every few months. For me, as someone that still plays it, it's great, and it just keeps you fresh. It's one of those types of games. However, I know it will eventually come around the time Episode 8 comes out. I'm expecting a huge update to include armies for the First Order and the Resistance. They don't come, I'll be devastated, but there's only so much more they can keep adding to this, and they're doing a fantastic job of that. But eventually they're either going to do a new version of the game, or they're just going to have to drop this big update. But big update, and it was stunning, and it's still fun to play. And that's everything on our games. And now we have Cantina Talk, which we have Dave. This is you tonight.
Yeah, it's. It came out to me this time. We take turns with coming up with a subject for our Cantina Talk, and really, this issue is going to be about the Star Wars running order, and not what I'm talking about. There is how you would view these films. George and I come from different generations of Star Wars, so I'm certainly from the generation that I was born just after Star Wars came out, A New Hope. So I went through that generation. George is very much the generation. The first Star Wars movie he was taken to was Episode 1. So we are very much in that era where what I see and what George would do is a very good thing. I know we're going to bring in a little bit later as to other stuff that we bring in as well. But George, let's go with first. Let's see, what would your general running order be if you were now going to sit down and say, right, I want to watch a Star Wars story. Let's once, if you want to just watch it for yourself. 2, if you were introducing it to someone else who'd not seen Star Wars before.
Right. If I was to sit down and watch it right now, the series, and I would actually add in the Extremists, which I have never done before. I would go canonical order. This would be 1, 2, Clone Wars, 3, Rebels, 4. No, Rebels, Rogue One, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 when the time this journey ends. That would be me doing it by myself now, knowing the franchise. However, whenever I've showed it to someone new, and there's so many different ways of doing these orders. People have like that weird machete nonsense, but people like their orders. If I was showing someone new, which I have done before, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 7. However, the person I showed it to was 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3. Then it was Rogue One, obviously, because it was the newest film. I personally believe that 1, 2, and 3 should be. 1, 2, and 3 should be watched the first time at the end. Like I said, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3. Then 7. Rogue. Just the release order at the minute. We're not in a bad situation yet of doing them chronologically. However, when Episode 8 comes out, I would say do 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 7, 8 spin-offs.
I think I mean, that's great. I mean, from my own personal point of view, anytime I've sat down to watch all the films, I've always gone 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3. That's just the way. I think it's just generationally. That's the way I've always seen the films, and that's the way I've done. I have done a sit-down day. A couple of my friends, Gary and Kev, came over one week. We got pizzas. We watched 1 through 6 all day, just sat in the house. When my friends actually pulled a sickie, did not be at work to do it. It was good times, beers and stuff, and that was great. Now sitting down, I tend to think, how would I watch it? And what's occurred more to me now is I might actually put Rogue One first as an introduction to that idea, because it doesn't give anything away about who Vader is. There's no spoiler there. All you get is a bit more in depth into the destruction of the Death Star. So my plan now, if I sat down myself to watch it, I think I would go now Rogue One, then 4, 5, 6, and then back to 1, 2, 3, and then probably 7 at the end of that, because 7 what carries on from Jedi for me is the start of a new trilogy, and that's kind of how I view it. I have now, not now, I've had them a while, but my son's 2, and it's a weird thing that I've generally sat thinking and spent quite a bit of time thinking, at which point would I introduce him to the films, and in which order would then I want him to see those films? And it's a tough one, because I think the honest introduction is probably through not even Clone Wars yet. I think Rebels will be my introduction to Star Wars to him. I think it's, in my own opinion, I prefer it to Clone Wars. I think it's a better made series, although there's some exceptional storytelling in Clone Wars. I do prefer Rebels. So I think I would certainly, for my son, sitting him down, I'd want him to see. You see, now I've said it, and now I don't believe I do, because that Ahsoka gives away who Darth Vader is. It's a harder subject than I thought. I think, yeah, you know what? I'd show him the order I saw them in. I don't want that Vader reveal is such a big reveal, such a big moment for anybody to see. I think I'd show him 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, and then Rogue and Episode 7 in any order, really. But then I would certainly want him. I'd certainly want to introduce Rebels and Clone Wars into it. I think they're essential viewing to build up a much better idea of some of the stories, especially Anakin's downfall. Episode 2 to Episode 3, it's a very quick, like, oh, I'm good, I love my wife, I'm going to have a baby, oh, I'm bad, she's dead. The building of that character in Clone Wars, to give him Ahsoka and have that story out with that, I think gives so much to that character. That I think it really becomes, I think, essential viewing to now pick up on the films and to understand more into them as well.
Yeah, it's, see, if I was showing it to, I've shown it to my cousin's kids before, and they used to watch Rebels. Apparently, there was just an animated show they'd occasionally watch, and that was enough for me to know it was Rebels, because obviously I'm a Star Wars geek. When I showed it to them, I did 1, 2. Well, I wasn't with them, but the order I told us show them was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, then 7, then 1. And I think with kids, maybe because I was 3 when I saw The Phantom Menace, because yes, we said earlier that they're all kids films. Let's be honest. The modern day kid has a phone, an iPad, has that you've owned. I disagree with that, but that's life now. I think that's gonna be it to stick around. I'm not trying to sound, there's one of them, but it really is. I know it really is going to happen, and they need. I think the Episode 1, the prequel trilogy, flashy lights, big explosions, lots of CGI, a bit more modern, pretty buildings, pretty spaceships. I think kids could get hooked off that more. As terrible as that is to say, it gets kids hooked more than the originals do. Yeah. And I think it would be a case of me, myself, was that when I hit that age, they role reversed. I always loved the originals, don't get me wrong. But I did enjoy the prequels a bit more, and I would jump to them, as everyone my age did. But like I said, pretty lights, pretty explosions, lightsaber. And then they'll get an age where they realise that they aren't as good as they thought they were, and the originals were outstanding. However, now the kids have Episode 7, and all the little girls dressed up as Rey. So maybe kids these days, they don't care about 1, 2, 3. Maybe they just want to see Episode 7. Then they go to the originals to find out who these other characters are. In the next couple of years, there's going to be, before episode 7, there was like 5 different orders apparently for these films. And now that we've got spin-offs and a new trilogy, I think 5 will become like 15 different ways to watch them. It's absolutely insane, but it's always an interesting debate.
Yeah, it's a tough one to call. When I thought of the actual subject, that was, and just then when I started talking about, I'll show my son this way, and then I thought about it and thought, you know what? No, I'm not. 2 seconds. I'm just gonna. Apologies, where I'm shooting, my window is just behind the screen, and there was a wasp literally closing in towards my window, and I'm not having that. Sorry, that's was just a moment. So yes, but yeah, speaking about it there and thinking, do it this way, and then as soon as I mentioned, I'll show the coloring, but that then again, it's spoiler territory for that massive reveal, and I don't want that. So yeah, I think it's a debate that could go on and on. I'm very interested to hear what Phil's idea was, because he's very much in the middle of us, really, whereas he saw the films. So again, I think it'll be an interesting take when Phil gets back as well. We'll certainly ask the question and get him on that as well. But yeah, so I think that for us now has been a week of little news that then became massive news. Which was great because it built our episode up to what it is now. It would have probably been about 10 minutes and we would have all been gone by now. So yeah, George, I don't know if you've got any final thoughts for this episode.
I don't actually have final thoughts. Again, it's been a very quiet fortnight. However, check out our Battlefront stuff, the Han Solo stuff. Obviously, that's the big news. When we're back in 2 weeks' time, I am praying that they've announced director, because they're going to need to have announced director by then. But I think most of our news in 2 weeks' time is going to be that. And yeah, that's all I can say.
It's a lot. That is our main news. Really, if you've got any comments about it, tell us what you think. We've got our Facebook page. We've got our Twitter, which we've also got ourselves the YouTube page. Obviously, leave comments on there. We'll answer any comments that come in. If you are watching this now on YouTube, please click down below, click the subscribe button, and give us comments and feedback. We do like to hear from you and know what's going on with your worlds and what you want to talk about in Star Wars. And please give us some that. We will talk about that. We look for content, so we'll get as much in as we can. So yeah, really just subscribe, keep liking. The Facebook page is out there, it's growing. We get all of our news that we get in, that gets posted on there. Anything that comes out, we try to get up as quickly as possible. So we're up there with a lot of those other sites. But for now, this has been George and myself, Dave. We've been Ones of the Force, and may the Force of others be with you.